everybody, welcome to the Q&A. These are the questions from Monday the 8th and Wednesday the 10th of June.
Good evening.
We're going to try and get through as many as possible as usual. What I wanted to start with today was a little bit more about the course for people who wanted to have signed up, but within hours of Wednesday's live, all the places had gone. So we're sorry if you really wanted to join and couldn't. What we want to say about that is if you get in touch with us via the contact page on Roger's website and say that you want to join for the next one, we'll put you top of the list for the applicants that we have for that when we start that. But for the moment, that first one is sold out. And on that note, we want to say a huge thank you to those people who signed up for our
Yes,
first
actually
course.
amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, we're very, very excited, and we're going to do our best to make the next 6 weeks lots of fun and
Yeah.
a really
So-
good experience.
Yes. To change what you can do.
I'm just trying to think. The other thing that we mentioned briefly in the last live was that we will have to cut the live videos down. We can't do Wednesdays anymore, so we're going to do a live on Monday and then a Q&A on Friday.
Yes. Unless we do a special announcement.
Yeah. So the next live will be Monday, the Monday coming up, which I think is the 15th at 7 p.m. English summertime, as usual. So you can join us then, and we'll be doing the Q&A on Friday.
Yes.
The badges are up. They've been going like wildfire too, apparently. I'm not sure if there are any left, but if you want one of those, go over there. And we'll hopefully be getting some more stuff on the site soon. We're going to be ordering some new things tomorrow.
Yeah.
Should we get started?
I think so.
Okay. So Ken asks, Roger and Freya, have you ever used the FW acrylic inks? I have been using them almost exclusively and love them, though like anything else they have their limits.
No.
No, me neither, but we will have a look.
Yes.
Mike asks, where would you recommend to buy art supplies?
Well, the problem with recommending where to buy art supplies, you guys are all over the world. And what might suit somebody here isn't going to suit someone in New York or San Francisco or Holland.
But lots of people are in the UK.
Okay, well, I buy my art supplies from a company in Hove called Lawrence's, and I find them ideal. All art supplies are struggling because they have a limited range. Even if they're huge, they have a limited range, and people can get whatever they want online. So it's a kind of difficult time for art suppliers, so I do try and support them.
Good. Sandy asks, have you ever tried the liquid golden acrylics?
No, well, it's not quite correct to say no, because Quentin at Howard King's, who does a lot of our printing, actually uses them for silkscreen printing and as a basis for other printing. So they get used in things I do, but and I don't really use airbrush now, so I don't really have a need for them.
Sandy then asks a trickier question. Have you ever composed a painting that was in some way beyond your skill set?
Every single one I ever did. I mean, that's half the fun of it, really, is to push the boundaries. I never think it's going to be easy. Well, actually, I shouldn't say that. I always think I'm going to have to learn something in the process of making a painting. And I think everyone I've ever done, literally everyone I've ever done, I'm going to do something that means I either get it wrong and have to do it again, or I learn something new. So, yeah.
All of them.
All of them.
Kevin asks, is choosing the subject an important aspect of a painting? You talk about how you choose. Can you talk about how you choose a subject? Thank you.
My paintings are all about the subject. There's an assumption there that I wouldn't paint, or I would paint even if I didn't have a subject, and I wouldn't. The purpose of my paintings is to fix an image of a place very often. Usually a place, sometimes a thing, or something that's built, but usually a place. And it's an ongoing process of triggering ideas about how we would like to live in the world. So yes, the subject matter is always key.
Michael asks, what are the differences between Freya's and Roger's classes if one wants to take both? So, very, very simply, shall I say?
Yeah.
Dad's is
I don't know.
Okay. Dad's is a 6-week sort of intensive course broken into modules that are assessed. Mine is a one-off 1 hour thing, which is fun, and Sengo Hyakuen, £10, $15, something like that. So, you know, just sign up. What have you got to lose? It'll be fun anyway. Join my course. Dad's isn't available anymore.
Yes, I'm going to have to do something about the competition then.
By the way, I should say, if you want to join mine, it's at the top of my Instagram and my Facebook art and design page, Freya Dean Art and Design. So I just have to get that one.
Apparently.
Get that one in there.
I think she wrote the question.
I didn't write the question. Did I, Michael? Didn't. Anyway.
I knew you did.
Glenn asks, who would you like to do a dialogue with, a la Steve Hackett on Cruise to the Edge, on discussing the creative process? Van Deer, Wakeman, somebody else? Do you know what I was about to say? I was about to say Wake Woman, and it's Wake Man. Isn't that weird?
You're so politically
Wake Person, or
alert.
someone else.
I'll punish her, Rick. Well, there are a lot of people, and we're planning to do it. I did have a conversation with Sid Mead about 6 months before he died, and it was a sad thing for the world when he died in January. Yeah, we have a list, and we'll announce it and follow up when we're not all locked down.
Yes. Yeah, what I particularly wanted to do, and what we were sort of thinking, was kind of a little bit like a travelling tour, where we'd sort of go around visiting certain people and have a chat. But then what we've begun, and we're having a meeting about tomorrow, another meeting, is moving Dad's prototype house somewhere where we can access it much more easily. So I think, assuming people would be obliging enough, it would be really good to do the interviews in there once we get that nice and
their
comfy.
own studios, yeah.
Yeah, or their own studios, maybe a combination. Jeff Fluorescent asks, how can I get, well,
Name sounds familiar. I wonder why.
how can I get that amazing book you were looking through that ended up on the table with the paint? I wasn't sure what book he was talking about. Do you
Must have
know?
been Dragon's Dream, I think.
So you're assuming it's one of your books?
Or did we have another book on the table?
Don't know. Sorry, Jeff. If you could comment that question again on Monday. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I think I'm almost certain the answer is going to be on the website under books.
Okay. If it was one of Dad's books, it will be on the website. If it was something else, if you can remember anything else about it, let us know. Jerry asks, if you have too many ideas? How do you nail yourself down?
Well, there's several answers to that. One answer is that I keep a record and a list of them. Not because I'm worried about forgetting them, but so as I can do a very quick access. And very often when I think, wow, I really like that, that is going to be the subject of a painting, I might have another idea I'm equally enthusiastic about. And sometimes I combine them. I don't really believe in saving ideas for a rainy day. My policy is to make them earn their keep as quickly as possible, although that really doesn't always happen. And there are a lot of, for me, exciting ideas in the sketchbooks. But I would say, yeah, mix and combine. It works surprisingly well.
But also, I think a good way of choosing is starting everything and then watch what catches, watch what people jump on board with, watch what you get paid for, and then follow that route. Because I mean, just thinking about our lockdown experience, we had sort of loads of ideas and projects at the beginning that we wanted, and yeah, some of them just
I actually profoundly disagree with you there, because, and I know you do too, because what you do and what I do is what we, at some really core level, really have to do. We do what we're driven to do, and all that other stuff really influences very little.
I profoundly disagree with you.
Really?
I require payment for my ideas.
All right, okay. I think it works best, and you do the best work when, and you'll probably get paid better too, when you're doing what drives you.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's what I mean. Well, these are under the assumption these are all your ideas.
Yes.
And I don't mean just catching in terms of someone paying you for it. I mean like getting on board with an artist who's really excited about the same thing you are, or a writer or something. Just putting your ideas out there to some extent. You get feedback from them, and some begin a life of their own, and some kind of get shelved because they didn't take.
I have occasionally done pictures that I didn't believe in, and I've either, well, destroyed them, repainted them, abandoned them in some way, and it's such a waste of life doing that. I try never to do that.
Whose point are you addressing there?
Just kind of wandering around.
Okay. Jasper asks, what was the inspiration for the Asia Aura painting?
The Asia Aura painting was picking up on the pyramid imagery, but it was looking for sacred places, places with an aura, literally. And I wanted to make it somewhat absolutely other. Somewhere that looked like if you search hard enough you would find it, but in fact was utterly unlike anything. So somewhere in the mountains, somewhere in a forested mountain, a sacred place.
Sandy asks, are you familiar with Ted Jones, who painted the Klaatu album covers? His work always reminded me of the continuity between the Yes album covers, the story that links them.
Which ones did you do?
Klaatu?
I'll have to look that up. Yeah, I can't picture it. I'll look it up.
Maddie asks, can you talk about negative space? I've heard about it as a technique for painting, but I'm not sure I fully understand how it is useful.
This is you.
So this is what I was talking about. I can't remember on what day. But one of the reasons painting negative space is...
It was Monday.
Okay. Is really useful is that you see things that are familiar and you make assumptions about them. there's a man sitting here, so arms go like this and the head goes here, and all that kind of stuff, and you put everything where you expect it. And the useful aspect of negative space is it forces you to really look. So if I do that gap between Dad's arm and his waistcoat, and then the gap that's within the bookshelves that connects to his arm, it's a way of really making sure you're painting or drawing what you're seeing, as opposed to assuming what's there and doing it without really looking. It's a sort of way of tricking yourself into getting things right. Would you say that's...
Yes, I mean, learning to see what's there is a child's odyssey that is never complete throughout life. And if you're an artist, it's very important to learn all kinds of techniques for seeing. I have a mirror up on the wall there, on the top of the books. And whenever I'm painting, I look at the painting in the mirror so that I can see it differently. And very often I see errors of structure that I wouldn't have seen when I'm looking normally. And you acquire over time lots of techniques and tricks that make you look and make you look again. And after all that, you probably still don't see a tiny fraction of what's there. It's an ongoing process, and it's a very, very important and very, very rewarding process. But it's an important process. But if you're constructing something, of necessity, you have to get what's there. And anything, like looking at the negative space, is a big help in seeing it in a different light. Yeah.
David asks, well, he calls it a musing rather than a question. Did Storm working on marbling in the early days give you many ideas for your watercolour washes and dripping/running techniques? Mainly the random happy accident generation.
No, not really. Not really. He filled his flat with them. It was amazing. And I think they appeared on the Saucerful of Secrets. I don't know if he ever used it ever again, though. But he was doing marbling in absolutely the classic way. I've done marbling, but not in the classic way, mainly because it was more than I could afford to do. It's a happy accidents are an important part of what we do. Whenever I'm putting a wash down, it's good to leave a sort of random texture in it. It's a helpful tool, and sometimes I make sure there's a lot of that in a underpainting, if you like, and I can construct the whole painting on that randomness. As I think I said the other day, Journey to the Centre of the Earth and Return to the Centre of the Earth are both paintings that were essentially a monochrome random splash of paint that kind of condensed into form by just bringing out little bits of it. It's pretty much as it was. It takes a tremendous amount of time to do that little work, but it's important. It's very interesting, and getting that feedback from the painting, the more often you can do that, the better, I would say.
Malcolm asks, have you both considered doing a talking book like Roger mentions is useful? I love listening to you both, and I think it would be a great addition to the shop. Thanks again for the great sesh.
Well, the talking books I listen to, very often written by great authors, sometimes read by them and sometimes read by voice actors. I don't really see that I fit into either category of either a great author or a voice actor.
There'd be a lot of squabbling, wouldn't there, over the course of a book?
A lot of?
Squabbling. I feel like this is, I mean, we're with each other every day, it's lockdown, we can just about do these without killing each other. I think that might just be on my part. But a whole book, I don't know. We could do like a podcast, maybe.
Having said all that, we have talked about it, not in the sense of doing a novel, but in the sense of looking at what we're doing now in a more structured way. So what can I say? Watch this space. If I'm still alive next year, you'll probably realise we haven't done it yet.
Why are you saying that? There's something you haven't told me. Why are you
No,
saying
I'm saying that because you said you could easily kill me.
Oh, okay. So it's up to me, okay. I'll spare you for that.
Alexa's picked up on that laugh.
He's alright, Alexa. Relax. Don't worry, she's going to start talking now. Okay, next question. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing this name right. Is it Athena? Possibly. When Roger travels with the Yes Tours, how is he available for me to say hi? Do I need a backstage pass, or is he out front at a booth?
No, we're always out front. That's the whole point. It's to be seen.
Maddie asks, I love rainstorms. Can you describe some ways of depicting lashing rain, please?
I would actually say, strangely enough, if I was going to have a think about, I'd like to do some rain, I would look at the Japanese prints of rain. They do it a lot and they do it well. And I would look at that and think,
The way they do it, though, it's just like streaks, line streaks,
Yes.
absolutely symmetrical streaks of where they haven't inked.
yes, I
Or
get
it's
that.
white ink, isn't it?
Yeah. I don't know if I would do streaks, but I would definitely look at it because they have a good sense. And Turner, of course. Turners are very misty, and I've done pictures like that, like they aren't as vague as Turner, but I have to say I love the vagueness of his painting. But paintings like the Old Bridge, there's a lot of mist, a lot of aerial perspective. And
John Martin.
yeah, John Martin, yeah. Well, that's I guess the answer we're nudging around is look at what other people have done. I can't instantly think of one I've done myself with a storm.
The Romantics, I think, would be a good group of people, wouldn't they?
Actually, the more we think about it, the more examples we can give. But I can't give you an example from my own work at this point.
I don't know that I've ever done a rainstorm.
A misty rain, yes. A heavy rainstorm, no, not yet. Interesting challenge.
One way of doing it might be, if you're doing it in watercolour, using salt.
Go on, I don't know.
So if you have a very wet page and you sprinkle salt on it, the salt sucks up the moisture, but in little spots. We've definitely done that for snow. I've definitely done that for snow, but I don't know how it would work for rain. But also, one of the things that we did at college was if we made a mistake with watercolour, it's incredibly difficult to get rid of. And you do that whole cleaning the brush, wiping it off, cleaning the brush, wiping it off thing. But failing all of that, the sort of last resort was taking a very sharp scalpel and just very lightly taking the top layer of the paper off. But I'm wondering if something like that would work for rain as well. You paint the image and then you do these little symmetrical little dashes with
I
a
wouldn't
scalpel.
worry about making mistakes. That
No,
would be
I'm not talking about mistakes, but for the rain, just using a scalpel to just sort of take that top layer off. I don't know.
Interesting. I will experiment at some point.
Colin asks, in the late 70s, I think, you designed a pattern livery for commercial aircraft. Did any ever make it onto an aeroplane?
No. Shame, but no.
Oh, I think I remember those. Are they in the book?
Yeah.
Sort of bright red and blue.
looking like tropical fish.
Richard asks, is the heavy/light floating rocks concept similar to rock bands pairing something heavy with something light, like Led Zeppelin and Iron Butterfly?
Well, in concept, no, because Led Zeppelin is a play on a musical jargon for a bum note, I think. But if you see all of it as a kind of surreal paradox, then you could say yes. I never thought of it that way, though. And so I think the answer is no, in that the concept was never about the paradox. Although it is, of course.
Jacques asks, I read about dyslexia coming from problems with eyesight. You can help pupils to read through a magenta acetate. Maybe if you have some colour blindness, it's related.
Well, dyslexia actually is a different way the brain is wired, absolutely. And I do find that very bright light exasperates reading difficulties. So there is something in that, but there's a book which Freya gave me called The Advantages of Dyslexia, because it's not all negative, and one of the advantages is that someone with dyslexia is much better at making connections and seeing a bigger picture. It's kind of the opposite end of the spectrum to autism, where you are very focused on detail. Interesting.
So
we'll explore more.
I mean, this is the thing, isn't it? Like, a lot of ways that people think are sort of pathologized by culture, because culture has very strict ways that we're all supposed to behave and codes of conduct socially and in the workplace. But if we were more embracing of different ways of thinking, we could cover so many more bases in our sort of projects and endeavours. I mean, if you're just thinking like on a small level, if you were coming up with a creative team, it would be fantastic to have someone who could focus in on things, and it would be fantastic to have someone whose brain worked in terms of bigger picture thinking, and you'd want all of that.
You would, yeah.
Kind of variation in thinking.
Indeed.
And you wouldn't consider it anything of a disadvantage.
No.
Unless you're asking one person to do the thing the other is better, you know.
There is one aspect of dyslexia which I am told off about, and that is that I'm getting a little deaf, no question about it, and Freya is often on my case, Dad, get a hearing aid, with plenty of justification. But there is something people who are dyslexic do, and that is they hear quite clearly what someone has said, but take quite a long time to process it into a coherent sentence.
Is
so
that what that is?
Yeah, I can hear, but I don't know what it means instantly.
So one of the reasons I get quite frustrated is, and that helps me knowing that, because particularly when I was younger, I would always get very frustrated because I'd ask you a question and there'd be this long gap between me asking and you responding, and because I never knew whether it was your hearing or you were thinking, I'd be like, hello, Dad? and I'd say, did you hear me? And then you'd repeat exactly what I said to you, and I'd be left thinking, why on earth didn't you just respond then if you heard but you just processing a little
Processing embarrassingly slowly sometimes.
I also
but
think
with a profound ultimate understanding.
Yeah. I also think there is an aspect of not listening as well, because sometimes I'll be talking to Dad in the
Next
car,
question.
and he'll be like, "Look at that squirrel."
I knew you wouldn't want to miss it.
Anyway, David. No, that was David's question. Oh no, David. David asks, do you think anyone can learn to draw and paint?
Well, I was asked this question a couple of days ago, and I'm asked this question all the time. And the answer is almost everyone can be taught to drive, and in the same way, almost everyone can be taught to draw or paint. It doesn't mean that you can almost anyone can earn their living that way. Even if you're very good, sadly, it doesn't mean that. But it does mean with the right degree of application, a very large percentage of the population could learn to draw and paint. Similarly, I suppose, to learning some kind of musical instrument or singing. It's rare, it's very rare to find someone who absolutely can't. In the same way, it's very rare to find someone who absolutely can't drive. Of course, sadly, there are people who struggle with it, with both. So I would say a vastly larger number of people than you would expect can learn to draw.
But I also think in your own life, being able to or not shouldn't prevent you from doing it.
No, indeed.
If you want to play guitar, even if you're terrible, I'm speaking from personal experience, do it. I've just decided I want to learn ballet. I'm never going to be a prima ballerina, but I'm wearing my ballet shoes right now because I just want a part of that way of doing things in my life. I imagine walking taller and walking around in the ballet shoes, and at some point I will maybe go to a lesson. But I think being...
You got the shoes though.
I've got the shoes.
Half the challenge.
I think buying the equipment is the best bit. But I think, being, good or whatever shouldn't prevent you from doing it.
I think
being okay with being bad is one of the best things, because then you'll probably become good without noticing.
I would say, it's absolutely worth doing it, because the practice in hand-eye coordination is very good brain training, whether you're drawing or playing violin or almost anything where you need to do that. It's good for you and it's pleasurable. So I would say go for it.
But also many of the most sort of impactful images are made by people who didn't learn how to do it technically very well. Like, I remember seeing an exhibition of those Mexican votive paintings at the Welcome Museum. And I think basically they were sort of people, not artists, not professional artists, but people who'd had terrible experiences and were kind of calling on a saint to help them. And so there were all these sort of little paintings of someone's arm having fallen off in a car accident and a saint coming down from heaven sort of helping them out. And they were sort of really naively done if you were going to kind of critique it. But they were amazing and they were beautiful and they were really kind of emotionally engaging. And I think that's a big part of it too. Like, it gets those feelings and those ideas out. I wouldn't worry about the, technical aspects so much.
And to be totally cynical, I would say, 3/4 of the artists in the sort of contemporary art world would pretty much fail on any test of ability to draw.
Yeah, and also on ability to emote and share feeling as well. I think as long as you're doing that. Anyway.
There you go.
I know what that look means.
What?
Carry on, let's get on with it. Okay. I like this question. This is from Jim. He says, how much do you believe your meditation practices, your diet, and the fact that you don't drink link to your creative process?
My medication practice?
Meditation.
What medication?
Meditation.
Oh, meditation. There we go. Similar words, getting confused.
Not getting a hearing aid.
Tell me the question again.
Okay.
I just wiped that out.
How much do you believe your meditation practices, your diet, and the fact that you don't drink link to your creative process?
I would say they're linked to my health, and my health means my creative process is carrying on, thank goodness. There was a time when I had terrible eating habits when I was a student. We just anything we could get our hands on. and the creative process was very active when I was a student. So I would say I did do a lot of walking, always, long before I went to college. So going back as far as I can remember, walking in the countryside, long day-long walks was a habit. So I would say that was important because I always did it. Good eating habits probably didn't kick in really until I left college, about 1968, 69 maybe. So yes, directly and indirectly. You would probably say the same, wouldn't you?
Yes, in that if I'm not taking care of myself, I'm not coming from a good place when I create something.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine said that they could tell what kind of state of mind I was in when I painted something. And so they often said to me, make sure you're relaxed, feel good before you start this one, because we'll pick up on the energy. And I don't know how true that is. I suppose it depends how sensitive the viewer is. It's difficult for me to tell because obviously it's my own work, but I think there's something in it. Even if you're just looking back at your work, I can look back at work and I know the pieces that I was happy when I did and the ones that I wasn't. And I think maybe there is some residue of your state of mind in everything you create. So I would say look after yourself, so whatever you create comes from a place feeling well.
I would say, yeah. And stress is a major impediment. When I did kendo, which I did for quite a few years, I think probably every single practice I was told, oh, look at that tension in those shoulders, relax, learn to relax.
That's a good point.
And I think being relaxed and getting rid of anxiety and stress by meditation or by whatever means is an important precursor to working. You need to be relaxed and fluid with your movements.
I think we've been going on a bit. Did you check what time we started?
No, I didn't. Keep going.
Okay.
If you're watching this and you're bored, you can switch off at 8.
What sort of spaceships would you design for Virgin Galactic? Asks David.
Well, that's an interesting thing because the challenge is really how big is it going to be? I mean, it doesn't interest me quite so much as another space-related project we have, which is currently on hold because of the lockdown, but we have been asked to contribute to the design of a moon base, and it's a real project and it will be prototyped, I believe, on Mauna Loa in Hawaii, where the regolith is very similar to that on the moon. So they will test all kinds of technologies in doing the prototyping. The reason I got asked to be involved was because when I did my thesis on architecture, my thesis was about making spaces where people feel comfortable. And the environment on the moon is incredibly hostile. You will die from radiation, you will die from the vacuum, you will die from extreme heat, from extreme cold, you will die from micrometeorites and moonquakes. There's an unbelievable amount of stuff that will kill you, including the dust, which will shred your lungs because it's not been abraded, it's very sharp. So the moon is a very hostile environment, and people living on the moon will be essentially in a super high-tech prison. And my involvement was because, in addition to all those other threats, mental health will be a big issue. So whatever can be done in the build to alleviate stress and mental health problems, they will do. And I'm involved on that basis. So I avoided your question.
Should we carry on?
Yeah.
Stuart asks, do you create gifts for each other, in brackets birthday, Christmas, anniversaries, or do you buy socks and perfume?
What gifts?
It is true Dad forgot my birthday last year. Didn't you?
Did you have one last year as well?
You remember my sister's, but you didn't remember mine. So no, doesn't create things. Mum and I do little pictures for each other. My mum's pretty good about that. And she did me a great care package. I can't remember why, but I was really stressing about a job in Tokyo. And my cousin, who has a fantastic YouTube channel called Sustainably Vegan, she's very careful about kind of zero waste and reusing things, and Mum and I talk about it often. And so my mum did me this really lovely care package, which was kind of a book that she'd read and some paper, some beautiful watercolour paper she hadn't finished using, and one of the pin badges we'd had made for Dad, and a little pastel drawing of her kitchen, so we could kind of share a moment in her kitchen together. And that was so lovely. That was really, really nice. I should do them. We should all do them more, because it is a really nice thing to do. And we're probably all just a little bit lazy, aren't we? And kind of think, last minute, Bob Ross mug.
Yeah. It's that old thing that the cobbler's children go barefoot.
I'm still waiting for my 18th birthday present painting.
Yes, it's there.
I'm not even going to look, because I know there's just a blank canvas there.
It's true.
Okay. Sorry again if I mispronounce this name. I've done this name before. Bo asks, on buying the Green Slate albums back in 1973, I was blown away by your writing all the info credits by hand. Ever thought of having your wonderful lettering turned into a font for computers for us to use and enjoy at home?
Well, that is a question that keeps coming up. I've designed, I can't remember now, maybe 7 or 8 complete fonts, and maybe 20 or 30 partial fonts. And I like the idea of it in some respects, but it's very, if you see it, one of my fonts anyway, you would recognize it as my work. But if it was available, generally it could be anybody's work. So there's a pro and a con. Eventually I will, I think. Yeah.
That would be nice. I've got a question for me. Stuart asks, Freya, has being in lockdown in the UK impacted your own creative process? Have you become more English without the immersion in Tokyo/Japanese life? Country versus urban, father versus friends. Have you focused on different things? Yes.
Careful.
Do you know what? I heard about this really interesting idea about sort of cultural acclimatizing when you move to a different culture. Basically, it's this idea that getting used to living in a different culture is like a spiral, and you have these kind of ups and downs of feeling at home and then feeling alienated and then feeling at home, and eventually what happens is your original country and your adopted country even out. So when you first move over, you're like, this is so exciting, this is brilliant, this is the best place I've ever been. And then you kind of go down a spiral and you think, oh my God, why are they doing this? This is insane. This would be illegal in my country. And then you go, oh, but the train systems work, and the cities are so clean and there's no crime. And then you go, oh, but I can't buy Marmite, and it sort of goes round and round and round. And then, but basically what happens is it irons out. And then you get these two places on a par, and they both start feeling like home. And it's been 5 years I've been in Japan. And it's great because now I do really feel like both places are like my home, and kind of going back and forth between the two is really comfortable. And what's lovely is when I'm here, I really appreciate and miss things that I love there. And when I'm there, I really appreciate and miss things here. And I just make the best of both, whichever one I'm in. This is the longest I've been in England since I moved out to Japan, so it's been really nice not having to rush everything and going out into the country, because that's, I think, what I miss the most, apart from my friends and family, is the countryside here. It's amazing in Japan as well, but I love it here very much, and I miss it a lot. Englishness, rose gardens and oak trees and things like that. So that has been really nice. There was a guy who came to make a delivery the other day, and we both sort of said almost in unison that what we miss is beer gardens, which is an English thing. But yeah, it's odd. I'm here, but there are things here that I really miss, like just being able to meet up with friends in a beer garden. And what I've realised is, I think in lockdown, maybe lots of other people have the same feeling. You can't let yourself get too carried away with the things that you miss doing, because otherwise you'll just be in that state of mind all the time. You have to sort of compress that pining feeling and just really enjoy whatever you can do, like having the chats with Dad and us doing our stuff. That's been fun, hasn't it?
I've had fun. Yeah, I've enjoyed it no end.
Yeah, sorry, I talked for ages on that one.
That's
Has
right.
it been great? I mean, you can ask this one too. How great has it been having me here?
It's been brilliant. It's been really brilliant. It's not been 5 years since I've had Freya here like this. It's been 12 years more, because you're Lancaster, then you're in London, and so well, even though part of the time you're in London, you came home at night and weekends, you really haven't been continuously here for a very long time.
That's true. No, it's been good.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh God, I think we'll do one more. Do you think you have been passed the torch from Mike Knott / David Pye in terms of being a catalyst for motivation? I'm a composer, filmmaker, and the concepts you discuss apply to these fields as well, different strata of the available spectrum.
Wow, that's an interesting question. Can I have a peek?
This one. I mean, in terms of, you've used the phrase torchbearer. I think that was one of the reasons that we wanted to do this course, wasn't it? Was to have apprentices and teach some of the things that you do.
For me, that's a very important part of the classes we're doing. Well, yes, this is very interesting, because David Pye was a brilliant philosopher of design and craftsmanship, and I would recommend anybody read his books. He was a genius and really insightful, and the things he had to say were not the kind of art world bullshit that makes a great deal of what is written about art and design just unbelievably tedious. He was brilliant, and he was brilliant at encouraging too, so I would say he was great. Mike Knott. I'm confused with the Mike, but yes, he was brilliant too. He was a great teacher. yeah, and pass the torch. I don't feel really literally that I've been passed the torch, but maybe there is a responsibility to pass on as much as I can. I would add another name into that equation, though, and that is Roel Knutson, who is my kendo sensei, because I did learn as much about the processes of art from doing kendo as I did from going to art school for 7 years, and in a profoundly more enlightening way, I would say, as well. So 3 mentors. Very big deal, very important, and I'm going to ponder that.
Okay, we've got the final one. I just want to get this in. More house updates, please. From Dave.
It's well, we're breaking down the processes, and we're trying to figure out all kinds of seriously technical problems. We've had a conversation about the physical renovation and what are the steps, and one of the first steps, and a very protracted one, is going to be drying it out, which won't be completed before we move it. Hopefully we'll move it here and complete the drying out and sealing of the prototype here. Then we have to figure out whether we need to break it into 2 or 3 segments and how we'll do it. We've got a rough idea. It's been done before. Then we have what I'm assuming. I always love being in that space. It feels brilliant being in that space. And it would be wonderful to restore it to what it was all those years ago. Yes.
And to do these from in there.
Indeed. It would be brilliant. It would be lovely. And yeah, I'm really, really looking forward to doing that. But it's underway. But we're in that process of dealing with paperwork, dealing with planners, dealing with, well, Mike is coming tomorrow, Mike Lawless, my architect colleague, and he's going to help us make a checklist of what we have to do to get all the boxes ticked and get everything in place. We won't bother filming ticking boxes, but we definitely will film any movement on site where it's going to be prepared for the movement. We'll film the movement, and we'll film putting it in and doing the work. So that will be a very exciting project, and my hope, and I really, really hope, we'll be able to have it moved and all that work done in such a way that it will be sealed and ready for internal work only by the end of the summer. So we, it's here then, but we will keep you posted.
I was literally looking up the contact information for George Clark's Amazing Spaces today, because I think that would be a great show. He seems really nice as well, and I just think it would be good to get a camera on Dad to make sure he does all of the stuff.
Don't worry. I'm as motivated as you.
So, final thoughts. Thank you for all of your questions. There's definitely some that we've missed. Keep commenting your questions for Friday. We're going to be back on Monday doing the live. And a huge thank you to our new sign-ups for the course as well. And if you really wanted to get on the course, email us and we'll put you on the waiting list for when we do the next one.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.